Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is a 2017 sequel to Guardians of the Galaxy. It was produced by Marvel Studios and distributed by Walt Disney Motion Pictures. It was directed by James Gunn, and we have the same returning cast from the previous film. Now, as we continue on our way to Avengers Endgame, it is our turn to review this film to see if it's still good, is it better than the first one or not, and also to know how it stacks up against the whole competition of films within this universe. In the next couple of minutes, we're going to find out. The good. Out of the gate, this film has the best introduction, the best intro of all the movies of the MCU. It's really fun, it's really charming, at the same time it's very, it feels right for the characters. There's comedy in there, there's action in there, and definitely it's one of my favorite ones. Even the soundtrack there. I really enjoy that. That's one thing that I really love with James Gunn, the way he has this, personality, and he injects that personality within his films. And definitely this one, even just the introduction has it in spades. Another great aspect of this film is the returning cast. Now, having them back is also good story-wise, because you get to see them fleshed out. You get to see them more, to know what's going on in their lives, but also you can get to see them in a deeper way. You can get to see some of the conflicts they have internally, and definitely this movie gives you that opportunity for you to see them on a pretty much in a lighter tone, on a more personal level. The movie has more comedy than the first one, which is very surprising. I really enjoy a lot of the comedy. I know a lot of people don't like the comedy on Guardians of the Galaxy of the original one, some of my friends, but I personally enjoy it. I definitely do. I like this kind of sarcastic comedy, maybe because I'm a bit sarcastic, in a lot of ways. So definitely I enjoy that. I particularly love Dave Bautista as Drax. He actually steals the show with his funny lines. He kind of sells it because he has this serious face, but he throws some jokes, and it's just funny. It's just kind of dumb, but definitely funny. I also like the interactions between, of course, Rocket Raccoon, Yondu, and Baby Groot. Those are also a great aspect, great part of this film. Some of the most, I would say, hilarious moments of the film. And the addition of Mantis, played by Klementieff, is another great aspect of this film. She's quirky and she's a bit naive, but she's very sweet, and definitely I really like it. And her interactions with Drax are definitely also great within the comedy of the film. This movie has a lot of family interaction, and also there are a lot of lessons in regards to family, and I really enjoy that. Of course, the Guardians of the Galaxy are like a dysfunctional family. They're different, but they care for each other. And I feel that the movie emphasizes that without getting soapy or melodramatic. And it's not like a soap opera, but definitely there are moments and interactions and situations that they need healing, And I think this movie provides that, at least the story of some of these characters. And I really enjoy that part. It feels that it really has the right tone, and it's more personal than the first movie. As usual, there are a lot of Easter eggs in this film, and I like that. I'm a comic book fan, and I grew up with comics. To me, it is a must to have this in these films. So there are a lot of visual references here and there. Of course, the movies takes a lot of cues from the comics, and it kind of deviates a bit into other areas, but regardless, it still gives you some Easter eggs that you can appreciate, some visual references that of course are not noticeable to non-comic book fans, but for a person like me, a geek like me, I definitely delight, with them. The cinematography, the color, the CGI, the costumes, the sets are top-notch. James Gunn and his team did a phenomenal job putting this movie together. Also, the soundtrack continues the same style of the previous film with this classic 70s tunes. It has more ballads than before, but definitely I really enjoy it because the film feels like a proper sequel to the original Guardians of the Galaxy film. And definitely I really like that. It feels well, it has the right atmosphere, you feel right at home, and I love that. The Bat. Of course, it's time to talk about the Bat. The biggest flaw, in my opinion, with this film is pacing. The film feels a bit sluggish at times, and it has to do with the many different subplots within the film that kind of affect and slow down the main plot of the film. And definitely it's hard to really tell because there's a lot of comedy, and normally a lot of directors, what they do as a technique, they add some comedy into the films to kind of cut some of the tensions, to make the movie more enjoyable throughout the entirety of the film. But that doesn't mean that pretty much takes away the feeling that the movie is a bit long. And I feel that the movie has that. Of course, like I said, there's many subplots not only happening with, of course, in this case, Peter Quill with his father. You also Gamora with his sister, Nebula. You have the things that happen with Rocket Raccoon and Yondu. You also have the interactions between Drax and Mantis. So there's a lot of things happening within the film. And of course, that it's like your attention is geared in so many different directions. And of course, pacing gets affected by it. But ultimately, you know, I wouldn't say it is terrible that it, you know, makes the movie unwatchable, but the flaw is still there, and it's important to point that out. Ego the Planet, played by Kurt Russell, is an interesting villain. He is not as engaging, I would say, as other villains. He's not as relatable. His backstory is it's explained, but a bit poorly. And it can be confusing for people that are not familiar with the comic book story. And definitely through this villain, there's a lot of humanist views that are presented in the film that might come across as offensive perhaps to people of different faiths. Because there's a certain, I would say, a humanist view and attack on anything that has to do with the divine. And of course, you know, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Christian, or whether you have a different faith, you may find some of this offensive. But this is just part of, in the surface, you know, of course, this is not the central message of the film, but of course, those views are there, and they definitely might be offensive to some more than to others. In conclusion, there is not much to complain about this film. It is actually good. There's a lot of pluses here. I gotta confess, at first I was not a fan of this film. I didn't like it much. But the more I watch it, the more I enjoy it. The more I can see things that I didn't see before. And the more I really find it more entertaining. And definitely this is the type of film like that. Some films from the get-go you love to death. Some films takes a little bit of time. And clearly this is one of them. The movie has style. It is full of comedy and action. It has heart and definitely a lot of family values. It has great lessons for the whole family in regards to, of course, the meaning of family, forgiveness, breaking communication barriers, and also the importance of good father figures. It is pretty much a well package, and I love that. I love that it really gives the message, and it gives it directly to the heart, and that's one of the best things about this film. Now, this movie is not better than its predecessor. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 was a much better film, better constructed, more cohesive story, but that doesn't mean that this movie is lesser just because some of the stories are not as well put together. Of course, you have to remember, Guardians of the Galaxy was a stroke of genius. It was something new and refreshing, different, and this is just following in its footsteps. But that doesn't mean that this movie is bad. There's a lot of good here, and there are a lot of improvements here over the first movie. And definitely, it's not the movie that you can, I would say, like the first time, but the more you engage with it, the more you watch it, it's like, you know, going on a date with someone for a couple of times until you kind of fall in love with that person. It's the same that happens here. The more you go out with this film, the more you watch it, the more you enjoy spending time with it. And there's nothing wrong with that. So if I gotta give this movie a score, I would say 8 out of 10. Now, what is your opinion about this film? Are you agreeing with me or disagreeing with me? I would like to know. Please leave your comment below and let me know. I would like to have a conversation with you. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification button so you're reminded of the next video. Follow me on social media. You can do that in Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. The links are down below. And also, please consider supporting me financially. Through your financial support, I'm able to keep bringing, material to you every day, every week. So once again, God bless you. Take care, and I'll talk to you again. Bye-bye.